Hi, I'm the Red Ronin, and today I'm going over my idea for a few dumb thoughts I just randomly had in my day because I am a huge nerd. Also, sorry about the delay in video timing. I know a lot of you have been asking me about this, but I had a lot of stuff going on in my life. My cousin just graduated from high school. Woot woot! Shout out to Jack. Won't reveal last name for very specific purposes. Hope you understand. Meanwhile, I've been swamped with a lot of schoolwork. I just got into a National Chinese Honor Society, which that's pretty cool. 你好吗？我说中文。我想要你有很好天. That means, hello, hope you all have a great day. Anyways, let's get started with the first one. So, I'm going to be going over 4 ideas that I had. Then I'm going to be discussing my thoughts on each idea. If I can come up with a 5th one by the time of the episode, I'll go over that as well. But let's begin. So the first one I had is called The Devil's Desirables, and I think this would be a funny idea to have as an eBay store, just present on the internet. And when you order on it, you're just gonna have a bunch of stuff that looks like genuinely real content, but is in reality made to be specifically jokes. Like, for example, you could have vases that go around, but in reality, they're more fragile than Legend of Zelda pots. And you just have, like, as soon as you touch the pots, they shatter. Or if you were to have fake N-word passes that say on the back for the word nice, or if you were to have that for the word nugget, or nagger. I mean, that. No, wait, not those two. Nice. Or necromancer. Or neighbor. Just any random nonsense like that. Or just have, like, random props from the weirdest content ever. So, you know those weird anime out there that just exist for the purpose of, I don't know. I don't know if this is actually real, but based on how the market's going, I'm pretty sure this is going to be real at some point. How I fell in love with my washing machine. Or how my robotic girlfriend learned how to screw my parts. I will not go into further detail so I don't have a chance of getting canceled. Well, point is though, just have like random nonsensical off-brand anime products from the weirdest animes you could ever imagine, mixed in with all the random joke items. Just make a shop dedicated to the weird, all the random stuff that you'd never be able to find. Maybe even if you're a creature feature guy or girl or they them or whatever, have like dead insects or something, just like dead insects available on the internet. I don't know if this would cross a legal standpoint, which you might have to research that, but otherwise I feel like that would be an interesting idea. The next question I'm having is, would the Death Note change its standards for what qualifies as a name if you change to be, say, if you were to change your name legally, or if you were to change your gender? And I thought of this issue because the world's been changing in a lot of ways, and the transgender movement has been a major part of the world, and even though they are finally learning how to get some form of happiness, people in the South and whatnot have still been trying to remove their rights and remove their opportunity to be who they want to be. So the question is, would the Death Notes change gender standards because of that? Would the Shinigami care? Would they do anything involved with changing their name, their focus, or the original rules of the Death Note for the new standards of time? Does Shinigami count as anything? I mean, did they care about people? No, and actually, Ryuk doesn't care, but Rem did, and that's only 2 Shinigami. Most of them don't even care about Earth. So, would Death Note, if it was dropped down on Earth, would it theoretically change based on gender? And say if you were to have, I don't know, Jeffrey change to Jane, or based on the Mr. Beast crew, Chandler and Chris and whatnot, changing their names to something different and whatever, would that affect it? So, my answer to this, I don't know if this is actually going to do anything, and I have no idea myself. Which is why this got onto a Dumb Thoughts video. I heard from a bunch of people that I asked about it earlier that they think that it wouldn't change and it would just have to be the original name. However, some people really try to cover this stuff up, so how would that work? I mean, would you just try the Shinigami? Would you just... If there was a real Death Note, would people just go into a Pride Fest, make a deal for the Shinigami eyes, and just murder all the people there if they're really homophobic? Would they be afraid and not able to know the names? Would they be able to just be completely safe from the Death Note's effects because they don't know the real rules of the Death Note, or they don't know how to work past the gender thing, and they don't want to give up their lifespan? Would that mean that all of this would work? Or would you have to... Or would the Death Note be more liberal and focused on making transgender names an acceptable rule in the Death Note? I don't know. This is still just a guess, so... Anywho, time for the third idea. So, all of us, or at least a lot of people, have watched Star Wars before, or at least I hope you have. It's a cultural classic series of sci-fi, considering a intergalactic empire. Armies of practically space Nazis in white armor, ruled by space wizards that have a telekinetic ability called the Force, and laser swords known as lightsabers. And before that, there was the Republic, in the same timeline, who was somewhat similar, but they were a lot more democratic. They focused to have some form of humanitarianism, and they actually treated people tolerably and didn't enslave anyone. But the question to ask is, what made these governments so desired across history? I mean, Star Wars never really explained, or at least never explained well in the main canon. And even in Legends, they didn't really define it well. What laws did these things have? What laws did the Republic and the Empire have that made people want to keep them so long? I mean, in previous Star Wars conduct, they had a few murder laws and a few theft laws. But are there other laws that affect this? Are there other laws that they have related to this? Do they have equal rights for all? Do they have some form of, like, pay discrepancy like they do for women nowadays? Well, actually, most of history. I mean, that's not a good thing, but do they have that? Do they have equal rights? Do they have abortion? Do they have the abortion machines in general? Do they have something for either the pro-choice or pro-life movements? Do they have that? Does that exist? In addition to this, do rape laws exist? Does religion, outside of the Jedi, does religion exist? How does this work? How do you make an entire code with just theft? If you fight against stealing and you fight against murder, that's the only 2 laws you have in the entire Empire. And also they have, if you look at a stormtrooper the wrong way, you get sent to a work camp where you're building parts for the Death Star. So, we know about 3 laws in the entire Star Wars canon, and somehow there isn't anything else that exists. How is there such little defined logic and rules in canon, but yet they somehow have a stable order with minor rebellion? How does that work in either circumstance? Either the Empire the Republic, or, as of the sequel trilogy, the New Republic? How does it work? How do they have stability? How do they not have protests? Wait, are protests even legal in Star Wars? Can people protest? Or is free will gone? Do they have a Bill of Rights? Do they have any form of rights in Star Wars? How does this work? How do they define the measurement of a human life and the rights that a human life has? Does protesting lead you to get attacked and murdered? Does it lead you to just get beaten up by cops? Can you do it willingly? How would they affect riots as well? I mean, with all these different things, the Empire definitely cracked down upon riots and protests, and they sent those people to death and work camps and whatnot. The Republic, on the other hand, they didn't specify that. They didn't mention that. They didn't have any form of this, and the only thing that qualifies close to this was when Barriss Offee, who is a former Jedi, blew up the temple and killed 5 Jedi, so she got imprisoned for murder. And that makes sense of a punishment because she murdered 5 people in a hangar and then continued on a crime spree, framing someone else for the act. Anywho, that's my logic for the third one. Final dumb idea for this video. So, for those of you who don't know context for this next one, the multiverse is a scientific and fictional theory that connects into the concept of several different realities existing simultaneously. One reality exists as a starter point. Meanwhile, every other dimension is created as a result. Every action that someone does, every development in terms of nature, in terms of life, in terms of even the structure of different non-living planets, trees, and rocks. Every single thing related to that can cause a different timeline with different effects. So, that's the multiverse. But the question is, if a theoretical multiverse was to exist, how would heaven and hell work? Would there be several different heavens and hells for each universe? Would there be a heaven for each universe? Would there be a hell for each universe? And then the variants from that universe are sent to heaven and hell based upon their actions in that universe? Or is there just one big heaven and one big hell for each of the variants? And when that logic goes further, does that mean that every single bad variant of a person gets sent to the same hell? Or every good variant would be sent to heaven? Or would every single person across the multiverse, whether good or bad, would be strengthened or weakened by their other doppelgangers to be good or bad? How does it work? How would you have the theoretical concept of a multiverse and then heaven and hell? How would you be able to qualify that? How would that work? In addition to that, if other mythologies were to work into this logic, or the religions, in terms of religions, Hinduism, or the original concept of the Jewish afterlife, which, from what I recall, is different from Christianity. I don't remember exactly how at the moment. Probably should check up on that. But it's somewhat different to an extent in comparison to Christianity, and Islam itself is different as well. And for mythologies, you could consider Norse mythology has Asgard, has Valhalla, the home of the fallen, and Niflheim, the house of those who died dishonorably. You have the different Greek underworlds and sections of the Greek underworld based in Erebus, placed for the heroic god, for the heroes. You have the fields of punishment for the wicked and spiteful. And you have a few other separate regions to place souls that aren't in either quality. But if you were to consider that and expand it in as well, would there be several variations of that heaven and hell as well? Would that also be composite with different timelines? Would each individual figure be judged on their own merit as a variant, or would they be judged based upon all of their variants? How does that work? I am so confused with this, but I'm gonna try and give the best answer that I can think of because this is driving me insane. And if you have the answer or your personal answer to any of these questions, please write it down in the comments down below. I'd love to hear all of your opinions, and I'd love to have this as a fan-oriented YouTube channel that makes content tailored to not only my interests, but also the fans. And I feel that the best way to get subscribers and also keep your guys' attention is just to make content that you like. So, my personal answer for the multiversal variant theory is that there would be several variants of heaven and hell for each universe, and that you'd be judged based upon what you do in that universe. However, there are still several arguments you can make for every other variation of that theory. I mean, it's just weird, it's odd, it's ridiculous, it's stupidly overcomplicated. It's much too complicated. I mean, have scientists come up with a theory for this? I mean, Christian Science has become more popular in the past while. Meanwhile, the multiverse theory has also gained prevalence in the past while. So, will they eventually converge and have an argument about how the multiverse and how heaven and hell and whatever could work? Or for how any other afterlife would work? I don't know. This is driving me crazy. Anywho, thank you for watching. I hope you weren't driven as insane as I am, and I hope you come out of this with some very interesting questions, not only for yourself, but also for me. If you have any ideas for dumb ideas that you'd like me to discuss, please also put that in the comments down below, and hope you have a great day, everyone. Cheers!